Good evening. My name is Melissa Sorolla, and I'm the Vice President of Corporate Communications and Marketing at CPS Energy. Thank you for joining us this evening for this interactive town hall. Oprime estrella cero ahora para escuchar en español. Tonight, we're going to share with you how we are executing on our generation plan that San Antonio built together with your feedback in 2023 and our path forward to continue safely powering our community with reliable, affordable, and cleaner energy. We're currently in an engagement period with our community to share where we are with this plan and why it matters, and most importantly, why it matters to you. And this is just one of the many ways we're connecting with you. You play a critical role in planning for the future, and we are ready to speak to you, answer your questions, and listen to your feedback. Joining us tonight are Rudy Garza, our President and CEO, and Elena Ball, our Chief Strategy Officer. For those of you joining us on your cell phone, you can press *8 to receive the streaming video link, or you can also watch this event at cpsenergy.com/watchlive or at facebook.com/cpsenergy. If you have a question, you can press *3 on your phone keypad at any time. That's *3. You'll be placed in line to speak with a member of our team. After that, the next time you hear your name, you'll be live on the call and be able to ask your question directly. If you're participating in the live stream, you can enter your name and questions below the streaming player. And on Facebook, simply place your question in the comments section. We're going to get to as many questions as we can tonight. And if we can't get to your question this evening, we'll have a team member contact you later to provide you with an answer. We hope you'll stay on and join the discussion. We're covering some important topics tonight, so let's get started with a message from our CPS Energy Board of Trustees Chair, Dr. Francine Romero.
My name is Francine Romero, and I serve as the chair of the CPS Energy Board of Trustees. Thank you for joining our virtual town hall. Today, CPS Energy leaders will share the progress we've made on our power generation plan and the work that is being done to ensure we continue to safely power our community with reliable, affordable, and cleaner energy. We've come a long way, and your feedback has been extremely valuable to us. As our community continues to grow and energy needs evolve, CPS Energy wants to know what priorities matter most to you. Today, you will be able to engage with our leadership team on the work we are doing to power our community. There's also a survey available at cpsenergy.com/pathforward. Please take some time to provide us with feedback. We hope you will continue to engage with us as we make decisions that will help us to build a strong energy future for you and generations to come.
We thank Chair Dr. Romero for sharing that message. And now I'm going to hand it off to our President and CEO, Rudy Garza, for some opening remarks.
Thank you, Melissa, and good evening to everyone joining us tonight. If you're coming back to us from previous sessions, welcome back. And I'm really looking forward to the discussion we're going to have tonight regarding how we keep our community powered in the years to come for the future. So over the next hour, we're going to be taking questions and talking about why we're going through the process of updating our generation plan. And it really starts with going back, as Melissa said, to the great work that we did through our Board of Trustees, through the Rate Advisory Committee, and all the great leaders in the community who leaned into that process to create what has been our generation plan as part of Vision 2027 strategy for CPS Energy, really over the last 3 years. We have been in execution mode over the last 3 years, trying to implement the plan, in a better than what the plan called for financial scenario, to really think about the future and how we're going to serve the needs of San Antonio, which continues to be one of the fastest growing communities in the country. And it really always revolves for us around an all of the above strategy. How are we going to maintain a diversified energy portfolio to ensure that we maintain a reliable system while also leaning into new technology? So that includes all of the above strategy. Natural gas continues to be a reliable portion of our portfolio, but we're leaders in wind energy. We're leaders in solar energy. We've really I think cracked the code on battery storage, and we've got some very significant requests for proposal out there right now to execute on our battery storage technology aspect of our strategy. But we're also in the nuclear business. and we continue to own a sizable portion of the South Texas Nuclear Project, south of Houston. So we really are doing it every way you can do it in Texas in terms of how we're sourcing our resources. And I've got to thank my team. I've got to thank the Board of Trustees. Our City Council, in moments where we need their support, has leaned in to our ability to execute this strategy. And I'll tell you, I am really proud of the work that we've done over the last few years to really execute. And let me give you just some statistics. We've got 113 megawatts of wind generation, and that includes extending and expanding our share of the Penascal wind farm. So, we've added wind generation. We've got 520 megawatts of battery storage under contract, and we've got an active RFP for additional battery storage that will get us over 1,000 megawatts of battery storage in the future, 734 megawatts of solar, and we've got an additional 600 megawatts RFP that's out there for additional solar. And we've acquired through two different acquisitions, natural gas generation down in Corpus Christi and Laredo, and a separate transaction for natural gas generation around Houston. And the significance of that is that we've been able to achieve the additional gas capacity at a much more reasonable cost for our customers, which over the long term saves us money. So the slide you see really is the tail of the tape. We're first in solar, in large scale solar for an energy provider of our size. We're second in wind energy. We're the fourth largest power generator in the ERCOT market. So the work that we do on the generation side of our business helps provide reliability to the entire state of Texas. And we're the fourth largest gas distribution company. So the 40-50% of our customers that are gas customers benefit from lower energy costs by being gas customers. And of course, we're the sixth largest transmission provider in the state of Texas. And how we interconnect, as a hub, San Antonio pretty much connects to in every direction to areas of the state of Texas. And we take that responsibility very seriously. We also continue to invest in our Sustainable Tomorrow Energy Plan, or what we call STEP. And we get 280 megawatts of reduced energy demand every time we need it, which is enough to power 70,000 homes during peak hours of the summer when we really call on that. And we're also committed to continuing to move away from the last of our coal operations. We've got 2 coal units that we continue to operate. One of those will be converted to natural gas that still has longevity, and continues to be an important investment for us. And an older of the gas units that we will move away from over the long term. So we're in the process of updating our existing plan. We're not creating a new plan. We're looking at what's changed and how do we give a board an opportunity to tweak it if need be. That's the conversation we want to have with you tonight. We are constantly looking at how we're going to stretch our strategy over a 5-year period. We're in year 3. So now is really a natural time for us to take a Vision 2027 strategy and stretch that to Vision 2030. And so we really look forward to your feedback today. And I appreciate you being with us. And Melissa, I will turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Rudy. Thanks for painting that picture and reminding everybody about why we even started this. And I think we can all see the growth and changes coming around us. If you've just joined us, we do want to remind you that this is an opportunity for you to ask us questions and to give us your feedback. If you have a question, please dial *3 and you'll be put in the queue to ask a question here very shortly. We're ramping those up. But before we get to those, Elena Ball is our Chief Strategy Officer, and she's working with very closely with our generation leaders and on what comes next. So Elena, talk to us about exactly that. What progress have we made and what's next in this process?
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. Appreciate the introduction. As Rudy mentioned, over the last couple of years, we've made significant progress in our power generation goals. So, for kind of order of magnitude, our 2023 generation plan called for us to add over 5,700 megawatts, and we're 80% of the way there. been a huge team effort, as Rudy mentioned, involving our board, our city council, all of our stakeholders, our customers, and the team. So we're really proud of the progress we're making. In addition to adding these resources, I think what we are most proud about is that we have been able to add resources at a cost considerably lower than what was originally in our generation plan. Rudy mentioned the renewable additions that we've had and that are in play, and we've been able to get that renewable energy at at 10% lower cost than we had projected in our plans. The natural gas assets that we were able to acquire, we got those for roughly $3 billion less than building new assets in today's environment. So we're continuing to focus on, executing that plan with excellence, ultimately driving for reliability, affordability, and cleaner energy for each of you, for our community, for our customers. And so, as Rudy mentioned, we're in year 3 of a 5-year strategic plan through Vision 2027. We're continuing to execute on that plan, but we're in an industry that is rapidly changing. Additionally, we tend to have assets and resources to power this community that are multi-generational, right? These assets are assets that we have significant investment in, that provide a tremendous amount of value to the community we serve. And so it's important that we're constantly looking to the future. We can't rest on our laurels, even though we've made great progress to 2027. We've really got to look forward. Additionally, since 2022, when we embarked on not only Vision 2027, but our power generation planning efforts, the world has changed substantially. There has been a market increase in energy demands. We're seeing growth in our region. Not only are people moving here, businesses and residents, we're seeing entire industries move here, reshore, onshore, and grow in our community. And it's wonderful. But that has changed considerably. And then supply chains, due to all of the increasing demand, we're seeing tightening supply chains and costs. And so all of this change is another reason that we want to be in a state of continual planning, making sure that we're keeping a fresh 5-year horizon, and that we're adapting our plans as the conditions and the world evolves around us. So, tonight, really what we're here to do is to talk about some of those drivers, to talk about things we've accomplished, things that we're looking forward to. But we want to make sure at the end of the day that we're hearing from each of our community stakeholders, our customers, because at the end of the day, we're here to serve you, right? Our mission is to power this community. We want to power this community safely, reliably, and with cleaner sources of energy. And so tonight, really, we want you to engage with us. Please share your feedback. We've got a lot of different ways you can share feedback with us. You have a QR code, I believe, that's going to be on the screen. We have a website. Our chair mentioned cpsenergy.com /path forward. We have electronic means, and we also have a tremendous amount of community events. We've had about 24 so far. We've had over 550 customers and community stakeholders show up at those events. We've had just under 1 million digital outreach touch points with customers, but we really get better and plan better when we hear from you. So also please visit cpsenergy.com /events, and that's where you can see all of our planned events over the next couple of months. But we really appreciate you dialing in tonight or listening if you stream this later, and we very much welcome your input and look forward to the conversation tonight. So I'll turn it back over to you, Melissa. Thanks.
Thank you, Elena. And again, for those of you that just are joining us on your cell phone, you can press *8 to receive the streaming video link, or you can also watch this event at cpsenergy.com /watchlive or at facebook.com on our CPS Energy page. And if you have a question, you can press *3 on your phone keypad at any time, and you'll be placed in queue to speak. Now we're going to go to, Elena mentioned getting your feedback. So we're going to do a little interactive polling. And the first poll question is, the following are considerations that we consider as we plan for the future. We understand you might feel strongly about multiple options. However, we're going to ask you to please rank your number 1 priority for CPS Energy. So as we are going through these plans, the question is, what is the most important consideration for CPS Energy to serve and power our community? If you feel like it's reliability, please press 1. If you feel like it's cleaner energy sources, which are renewable sources, press 2. And if you think it is value and affordable prices, press 3. And while we get those results, I'll go ahead and repeat them one more time though. So we're asking you to tell us what the most important consideration for CPS Energy is to serve and power our community. If you think it should be reliability, press 1. If it is cleaner energy sources, press 2. And if it's value and affordability, press 3. While we're getting those results, we're going to go back to Elena just for a little bit to talk about what is driving the increased demand for energy in our region.
Yeah, Melissa, I think we may have a slide. Yep, there it is. And so, it's probably no surprise to each of us who live and work in this community. All you have to do is get on a highway in the morning, and you can see the tremendous amount of growth that we've had as a community. We are the 7th largest city in the United States by population, which is pretty phenomenal. We are listed as the 4th fastest growing in the United States, also by population, and our growth rate is 70% above the national average. According to the Urban Institute, our city is expected to grow by 28% between now and the year 2030. So you see evidence of growth all over San Antonio, and also the communities that we serve in and around San Antonio. And we're super proud of this growth. It really means that people want to move here. People want to live here because of our city's rich culture, our history, and the quality of life that we all enjoy. We also are seeing, as I mentioned, a number of large industrial and commercial facilities that are moving, relocating, and expanding in our service territory. Because we have such a great population, great workforce, we're seeing a lot of interest in businesses moving and growing in this area. So we're seeing large energy demands grow in addition to our very rapidly growing population. So with all of that growth means that there's more demand for power. And that's where CPS Energy comes in. Just to kind of level set, back in 2022, when we conducted this process and went through a generation planning process, we were originally planning for an annual growth somewhere between 100 and 115 megawatts, which is, a healthy amount of growth. For just for context, in the summer, we tend to have our peak electrical demand in the summertime. Our peak electrical demand is just below 6,000 megawatts. So that's sort of all of us at our peak energy need time, using about 6,000, just shy of 6,000 megawatts. So we were growing at that 100 megawatt, 115 megawatt clip per year. Now we're seeing the annual growth more like 260 megawatts. And we do see very large customers, some very specific projects that as they ramp may have that much or more demand. And so, we're not alone in this. This is pretty unprecedented load growth for our region, but even within the state, we're seeing the same phenomena. We work and operate inside of a regional transmission organization called ERCOT. ERCOT moves power around to about 90% of the state. And ERCOT, the majority of us Texans, peak at about 85,000 megawatts. ERCOT currently has a demand forecast of an additional 152,000 megawatts of new load. So we're seeing, more than double growth, over the next 5 to 6 years. And so with all of this, we've got to really stay ahead of the game. We've been proactive not only in planning but in executing, but we can't stop. If you stand still in this environment, you get past. And so we want to make sure that we're planning for the future energy needs of this community, and we want to make sure that we're staying ahead, keeping our power reliable, keeping our bills very affordable, and continuing to work to provide cleaner sources of energy for the future. So we're really excited about hearing from you tonight and through the various avenues ongoing. But it's important that we hear from you and that we understand your priorities. So we really look forward to the conversation. So Melissa, I'll turn it back over to you for our poll results.
Thanks, Elena. And we just got those in. We asked you to tell us what the most important consideration for CPS Energy to serve or empower our community. And based on your feedback to us, 44% of respondents said reliability, 32% said affordability, and 24% said cleaner energy sources. So thank you for participating in the poll. We've gotten a couple of comments and feedback here. We're gonna go into some questions now, and I'm gonna ask Rudy this one because it's one that we get a lot related to rate increase. So Rudy, talk to us a little bit about when that's going to happen. We've talked about it in the past. We've talked about it for years now. So talk to us a little bit about the status of that.
Well, Melissa, we've got a fairly defined process for how we go about engaging the community in any type of conversation about rate support. I'll tell you, before I became CEO, we hadn't been in for a rate conversation with our community, in 8 or 9 years. And when you're in a period of high investment with, trying to meet, the needs of the growth in your community, it's unacceptable to go that long without, a conversation about how the community needs to invest and ultimately in an asset that they own. Any kind of infrastructure, road infrastructure, city infrastructure, water infrastructure, airport infrastructure, energy infrastructure. It's all the same. It degrades over time. And so in order to be as resilient as our community needs to be, in order to invest the billions in capital that we have to invest, over time to keep up with infrastructure and to ensure that our community enjoys the reliability that, quite frankly, they deserve, we've got to have thoughtful conversations with our community about where we are financially. So, I committed when I became CEO that we would have that conversation on average every other year. And we've gone through that process a couple of times. We were supposed to be in last year for this conversation. And I believe this coming year, we will have that conversation with both our board and city council and the community. We always go to the community and explain what our need may or may not be. I can't tell you what our need is or might be. What I can tell you is that we're committed to having the conversation next year, and we'll see what happens at the end of the day. But we've got a budget to present to our board that lays out all the investment requirements. That'll happen in February, and then we'll, depending upon council's schedule, we'll see when is the appropriate time to go have that conversation with city council. But we're not kind of entertaining town hall conversations about rate increase right now because it's just premature. We've got a process to go through, and I would expect that process, that we would get into that after our budget conversation and probably sometime in the middle of the year. So that's where we are. I'm not shying away from it. I've always said that under our leadership, we will go in when it's necessary, and there's a process to go through that that allows us to prove up what our need might be, and then ask for consideration.
Thanks, Rudy. We are going to go to our first phone caller. And just as a reminder, if you would like to ask us a question, you can press *3 to be put in the queue. But we're going to go to Rebecca, who has a question about solar. So Rebecca, you are on the line and you should be able to ask us your question.
Hi. Am I supposed to be able to hear myself?
Can you hear yourself right now? If you're listening on a computer, you probably hear double.
Oh, no, I don't. I mean, I'm glad I don't. I don't like to hear double, but can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we sure can. And you're on with us here at CPS Energy, so you can ask us your question.
Okay. Well, my question, I forget so fast, but it has to deal with solar. I don't know why I thought of the downtown area, being that it's lit up 24 hours a day, inside the stores and then at night outside for walking. So that, that's a lot of electricity. And I'm wondering how do we work with the solar getting in and around downtown and then into residence areas? Because solar, it appears to be God-given to us. It's I don't know. Y'all are the ones in charge of uh, bringing it to surface. We didn't even know about it per se, but now that it's out in the open, how can everybody try to acquire it in their own home? Does that make any sense? Uh-huh.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for your question. Elena, you wanna take that one?
Sure.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your comments around being mindful of conservation, and also about solar. Rudy mentioned we are really fortunate that we've taken an early position in purchasing solar, and we're the number one purchaser in the state. We're continuing to expand that, right? So we currently have about 1,300 megawatts of solar in our portfolio, and as Rudy mentioned, we do have a current active request for proposal. We're seeking offers of up to 600 megawatts of additional solar to our portfolio. So we do see solar continuing to be, a leading resource to help not only with rates and bills. Solar is very cost competitive, but also, obviously it has, no carbon output, and so has a lot of advantageous environmental attributes. What we're also starting to see is, how well solar works when paired with energy storage, and it really helps us store that excess solar energy when it's producing and use it when it's needed. Specific to our customers, we have customers who have rooftop solar, businesses who have solar. We have an entire team that are focused on helping customers with distributed energy resources or customer-sided solar. And so, we as an organization, want to help our customers with the energy products that they desire. And so, we have all of the information about how to work with us on whether it's energy storage or solar or other types of resources for your home and business. You can go to cpsenergy.com, and we're here to help out with that. But we do continue to see solar as a really important part of our portfolio now and into the future, as that technology continues to become more and more cost effective and really help our community out as well.
Thank you, Elena, and thank you, Rebecca, for your question. We do have a question from the web that we'll ask, and it is from April. And she's asking, why can't CPS Energy work on reliability, affordability, and cleaner energy? Rudy and Elena, I think you both can chime in on that, related to our blended approach. So if you all want to tag team on that response.
Well, I'll give Elena a chance to catch her breath over there. The fact of the matter is, it's funny. I think back to every time we asked this question, and I think the spread used to be greater. In other words, I wrote down reliability is 44%. It really should be reliability / resiliency, because I think our community expects both of those, and we can get into what the differences are. But it was 44% reliability, 32% affordability, 24% technology and sustainability. Those spreads have gotten tighter and over time. In other words, I think our customers expect us to be doing all three of those things, and not just doing them, but doing them really, really well. And I will tell you, I think we are meeting that expectation. We're one of the most reliable utilities in the state of Texas. In fact, our customers enjoy, on average, around an hour a year of outage time, which quite frankly, isn't much when you compare us to other utilities around the country. And they're out less than one time a year. They're out at 0.5 times a year, which is half an outage a year overall. And so I think we're doing really well in that regard. If you look at affordability, we are the lowest electric and gas utility rate combined in the state of Texas. We're about $177, a month on average. I know some pay more, some pay less. But in other areas of the state, you've got folks that are at 240, 250 and above in other parts of the market. And so we keep an eye on that, because we always, if we're not going to be amongst the lowest, we want to be amongst the lowest. And as we talked about earlier, we're number one in solar. We're number two in wind. We're leaders in battery storage. And we've got probably the most successful energy efficiency and demand response program maybe in the country in terms of the true production value that we get out of our energy efficiency program. So I'd like to say we're doing well in all three of those, and we're doing it at a valued price for our customers. We're being innovative, we're maintaining reliability, and we're maintaining affordable prices for our customers. And again, I think that's proof that you can have a really forward-thinking strategy and meet the basic needs of our customers.
Thank you, Rudy, and thank you for that online question. We're going to go to another phone caller who has a question for us. So Tammy, if you can hear me, you are now on the line with CPS Energy, and you can ask your question to our leaders.
With the current administration's push to reinvigorate coal production, how is that going to impact your future plans that you have? You have some great plans. I heard a little bit about coal, and I didn't get on. I got on late, so I didn't hear about nuclear. So, is that going to impact us if your plans for the future?
Rudy, do you want me to take that? I'd be happy to jump in.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you for the question. Really appreciate it. As we think about strategy and we look long term, certainly policies and at both at the federal, the state, and local level all matter, right? They do matter. But as we built our generation plan, we looked at actually the three areas that Rudy just reinforced. We looked at our reliability, our affordability, and we also looked at our carbon intensity. So all three of these things are part of our long-term planning around generation resources. We conducted an evaluation of all of our generation types under our 2023 plan, and we made a conscious decision to plan for exiting coal by the end of this decade. And so we are committed to that. We are converting one of our assets to natural gas under our existing plan. Again, we're going through a generation plan refresh. But look, we do believe in a blended approach of different types of resources. We're longtime owners in nuclear. We do continue to see nuclear as a key part of our portfolio. When we look at our carbon-free energy, we talk a lot about renewables and now battery storage, but we get about 20% of our energy from our nuclear assets and have been doing so for decades. And so that's been a tremendous value for reliability, affordability, and clean energy, and will be part of our portfolio moving forward. So, we are committed to moving away from coal, and we do anticipate that we're going to continue to have a blended approach, which will include a diversified mix of nuclear, renewables, storage, and natural gas. And then we're also keeping, our eyes to the horizon on different types of technology that are in their infancy. They're still pretty expensive, but we are keeping a pulse on hydrogen technologies as well as geothermal, and advanced storage that could be many days of storage versus just a few hours with the batteries that we have on our system now. So just wanted to confirm, recognize that there have been federal administration changes relative to different types of fuel types, but also to incentives, tax credits, both production and investment tax credits. And we're being mindful of that with our planning, and also when and how we go forward seeking resources, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're being reliable, making sure we've got the right assets to ensure that our community is taken care of from a reliability perspective, but also that we're taking steps that protect affordability and help us keep energy prices affordable for the community. So long and short, we are going to continue to have a blended approach. Nuclear is part of our future for the future, and we will migrate away from coal to natural gas and a blended portfolio of renewables and storage. Thank you so much for your question. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tammy, and thank you, Elena. That's going to take us to, it's a nice segue to our second poll question. So Elena has talked about this blended power generation plan that includes gas, solar, wind, energy storage, nuclear. The team is looking at new technologies as well. So our second question is, in 2023, our CPS Energy Board of Trustees approved a blended power generation plan. Our question to you is, do you support keeping this blended mix of power sources? Press 1 for no, press 2 for yes, and press 3 for not sure. Again, in 2023, the Board of Trustees approved a blended power generation plan of gas, solar, wind, and energy storage. Do you support keeping this blended mix of power sources? Press 1 for no, press 2 for yes, and press 3 for not sure. And while we're waiting for those results, we do have another phone caller. Arnie, you should be able to hear us now, and you are live to ask your question.
Thank you. Yes, I've noticed around town there's a tremendous growth in the data center industry. And with so few jobs and opportunities that come back to residents and such tremendous strain these centers put on the grid, is there ever any thought of adding a surcharge data centers to give back or to compensate the community for the drain that they provide, since they really don't lend anything towards the community in terms of jobs or opportunities for residents?
Yeah,
Thank you, Arnie. You know, this is a hot topic. We know not only in our community, but across the nation. So Elena, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, and thank you very much for the question. You throughout the world, but certainly here in the United States, we are seeing a lot of growth of large loads. Data centers are certainly the hot topic with artificial intelligence and the tremendous growth that's occurring in that industry, and our region is certainly an area that is experiencing growth of all industry types, but AI and data center growth is certainly part of our landscape. We're seeing Texas be a pretty big hotspot in the United States for growth, and we ourselves have a lot of data center interest, and we also, as I mentioned earlier, have a number of commercial and industrial customers, many of whom are familiar names, maybe businesses that many of you on the call or here on the webcast are your employers. They're expanding, right? So we have a lot of growth going on. We are working not only to plan with industries that are relocating to the area, but also working with ERCOT, the overall Texas grid, to plan and interconnect these resources. You mentioned kind of costs associated with interconnecting those resources. We've had a number of changes that have occurred in this last legislative cycle to help us plan for and manage these large loads that are coming to our state and to the United States. But here in Texas, a signature piece of legislation that's happened has put in place provisions around these loads coming into the grid, requiring some specifics around costs and who pays for what, but also, from a reliability perspective, are also requiring these large loads that are in excess of 75 megawatts to be able to provide their own power during periods of time when the grid might be under distress. And so there's a lot of pieces in play. Our growth estimates do include load forecasts for large commercial and industrial growth. And we are in a region where we've got a lot of businesses wanting to come here with different business and job profiles. But we, at the end of the day, are working to make sure that as we grow, we're working to keep our system reliable and keep our costs affordable.
Thank you, Elena. A lot of what we hear too in the community is, who pays for this? So from that perspective, either Rudy or Elena, can you talk about that in terms of a large load growth and who pays for this growth?
Yeah, let me cover that. And there's a few more things I want to say. Elena covered a good majority of it, and that's why she's such an awesome chief strategy officer. There are a lot of good, with data center type customers or large loads in general. That's good revenue for CPS Energy. It's tax revenue for the city of San Antonio, and there's the added benefit of the revenue that goes back to the city from CPS Energy. But they also serve in a purpose. Every major industry in San Antonio needs data services. We have a data center that we manage. We also manage the city's data needs, and Saul's data needs. The real estate community's got data needs. The major businesses, insurance business, financial services business, all have data needs. The military, so there's a reason why there's a data economy emerging that's driving, the enablement of economic, wellness for, communities across the country. So it's not just about jobs. I think if it was just about jobs, then the city council, would need to, consider, do you incentivize an industry coming here that doesn't provide jobs? I think they're going to have that conversation in the very near future, which we will be a party of. But I will tell you that our contracts with these major new customers that are new to us and new, to the industry, the contracts are stringent and the expectations are significant. I don't know if you'd call it a surcharge per se, as the caller phrased it as, but I think there are expectations of these larger loads that are different from normal type of customers that we serve every day. They've got to bring financial stake in the game. We're not just going to build infrastructure to serve them if we don't believe they're truly gonna need that service, because then there's a stranded cost that does impact our existing customers. So our processes have to be tight. There is uncertainty that we have to manage too, but I really like our process for how we're dealing with those loads. I think it's getting better now. When a new customer of that nature comes to us, they'll have to pay the cost associated with the studies that we have to conduct to determine what type of infrastructure investment we're going to have to make to do it right. And all of that has to continue to allow us to maintain reliability for all of our customers at the end of the day. So there's a lot of moving parts to ensuring that our existing customers are taken care of, and I believe that we've got a really good process to meet that expectation.
Thank you both, Rudy and Alina. And a lot of that requires planning that we've done and that we are continuing to do. So Alina, I did want you to talk a little bit about our plans for the future. We're not only looking 5 years out, we're looking well into the future for this strategic planning. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we, thanks, Melissa, appreciate it. Yes, we're, as we think about not only, the discussion that we got to hear tonight around updates to our generation plan, but as we're thinking about planning for the utility, we're looking out 25 years. We have a 25-year forecast. We model, all of these decisions on a 25-year basis. And all of that lines up to our long-range, strategic objective called Horizon 2050. So again, the areas that we focused on, and this was really through very robust feedback that we received beginning in September of 2023 from the community, really landed on our three key priorities of reliability, affordability, and cleaner energy. And so as we're planning for the long term, we are modeling and thinking about the next 25 years. And so we are having 5-year business plans, if you will, toward that ultimate milestone objective. But at the end of the day, it's really important as we're investing billions of dollars in different assets into our grid, into customer programs, that we're taking that long view and ensuring that we're enhancing the reliability of our system, that we're managing affordability, not only just of rates, but also protecting our customers against market volatility. We operate in a very volatile wholesale market, which is really why we invest in a lot of diverse resources from a generation perspective, so that overall we're maintaining bill affordability for our community. And then, as we've talked about, transitioning to, less emittive resources, working to improve, the carbon intensity of our fleet. We really didn't dive into that. I did want to kind of double click on that for a minute. We touched on, Rudy touched on, our system reliability, which posts some of the best numbers in the state. We have the shortest duration outages of any major metropolitan area. And we continue to work to keep our bills our residential bills as the most affordable in the state. As we transition to cleaner sources of energy over the next 25 years, we are modeling and looking at our carbon intensity. And so I do think it's important for understand. We have objectives in the year 2030 and 2040 of reducing our carbon intensity by roughly 40%, roughly 70% at each of those milestones. And as we make resource decisions, we're doing it with a lens to reliability, affordability, and cleaner energy. And so that's really how our strategic plan is guiding our actions. And again, we're gonna continue to focus on diversification of our energy resources and watching different technologies and moving into technologies as they become commercially viable and can help with reliability, affordability, and the cleaner energy sources. So tonight's a really important part of that and the process that we're in. As Rudy said, we're not taking our generation plan and completely replacing it. We're really refreshing it. We've seen a lot of changes occur between 2023 and now. We've touched on some of those tonight. One that we haven't touched on is just technology itself. When we went through our planning process just a few years back, we really hadn't leaned into some technology that we're starting to see, really become possibly much more commercially viable in the next 10 years. And there are some technologies that may take a little bit longer. And so in addition to updating all of our costs, as well as our demand forecasts, we also are updating our latest and most current information about new technologies. We want to make sure that this community is taking advantage and getting the benefit of the very best and most commercially valuable technologies to power our community.
Thank you, Elena. We do have the results from our second poll question. Just as a refresher, we asked in January of 2023, our Board of Trustees approved a blended generation plan of gas, solar, wind, and energy. Do you support keeping a blended mix of power sources? You told us that 65% of you said yes, 20% said not sure, and 15% said no. So, thank you for that feedback. And for those of you on the no and not sure, we've got a lot of resources on our website. It's the first thing that you'll see if you go to cpsenergy.com. And as Elena mentioned, as part of this engagement process, we're going to be out in the community talking more about this. So hopefully you can get the information that you need to inform your decision. So thank you again for that feedback. I'll bring up another hot topic that we hear and that you all may have seen in the news lately, and that's related to transmission and transmission lines. 765 kV may not mean a lot to you, but it does, and it's impactful for our customers. So Rudy, can you talk to us a little bit about that project with AEP and our role in it and that process?
Yeah, so again, I'll start off by going back to a key point. We're the 6th largest transmission provider in the state of Texas, and that's important because AEP and CenterPoint and LCRA and all the other transmission providers around us connect to our transmission to move power around the state to make the grid and that serves 90% of the state of Texas in ERCOT as reliable as it can possibly be. So we have a line that will extend from South San Antonio out towards Fort Stockton. The legislature, the Public Utility Commission, ERCOT, all agreed that we need to implement a higher voltage transmission standard in Texas to get wind out of South Texas, around San Antonio, up to Austin and Dallas, to move power from Houston and San Antonio into West Texas, and just be more efficient in how we're getting power, transmitted across the state. And so from a policy standpoint, this has been kind of decided upon. And so we got a piece of of phase one of what we're calling the 765 kV build out. Right now in ERCOT, you've got a few different voltages, that really transmit power. You get 138 kV within our community that brings power into town. You've got 345 kV, which is our current high voltage standard in Texas, that moves power, around, bulk power around the state. Well, now we're going to have, a double, that size transmission system that really will allow us to be much more efficient in how we move power around the state of Texas. Well, the portion of the first line that's being built that goes from South San Antonio over to Fort Stockton, it's going to be a real challenging project. Again, we were awarded half of that. The other half was awarded to AEP. It goes through some really sensitive areas of Texas, from here kind of going out towards Uvalde, towards Del Rio and up north. And so we're going through a process right now to engage property owners that are on potential routes for that project. And at the end of February, we will file a preferred route that ultimately the Public Utility Commission of Texas will ultimately determine which route is selected. And very rarely do they go with the proposed route after we've gone through a public process. So I can assure folks that are interested in this project this. CPS Energy cares about conservation areas, conservation easements. We want to work with property owners to do the right things. Large infrastructure like this is never popular and easy. But for those of you who care about conservation, I can promise you, so do we. And so for the portion of the line that's going to go over, around or wherever it goes, going out west, in the area of the Devils River, in the area of a lot of conservation easements that our community has spent a lot of time and effort acquiring over the years. We're gonna do the right thing, but a transmission line is gonna get built. Per the Texas legislature, per ERCOT, per the PUC, and we're gonna do it right. So that's where we are. The process. Formal process at the Public Utility Commission of Texas will begin once we file a proposed route. They will take, interveners and they will go through their due diligence and they will select a line. And that line has to be built and in service by 2030. So we got a lot of work ahead of us. It's a $1.3 billion project. If we don't build it, another transmission provider will come along and build it. So, we're excited to be part of this process. We understand folks have an emotional, reaction and connection to the area that we're going to be trying to build this line through. But I can promise you that we're going to take all the feedback and try to do the right thing.
Thank you, Rudy. Again, thank you for joining us, and we want to continue to hear from you. Again, this is just one of the many ways that we're engaging with you. We do invite you to learn more about the generation plan topic by visiting our website at cpsenergy.com/pathforward. There is also a survey online that we'd like for you to take. There's only a couple of questions and then an open-ended question for us to give us feedback. I think they flashed that QR code up there just right now, but if you go to our main webpage too, you can get to it. There's also numerous events that are going to be happening over the next couple of months, and those can be found at cpsenergy.com/events. We also didn't want to leave the night without talking about bills, and if you need bill assistance, our energy advisors are always here to help you. We do encourage you to call us at 210-353-2222, and our energy advisors can help you get you on a plan to make bills more manageable for you. So we do continue to look forward to hearing from you and giving us your feedback. Just know we compile all the feedback through this process and give it to our Board of Trustees. Our leadership team reviews this as well and always takes that into consideration as we're planning for the future. We thank you for this opportunity to speak with you directly. And if you weren't able to get your question answered tonight, we are going to follow up with you. You can always give us feedback also at publicfeedback@cpsenergy.com. I do want to turn it over to Rudy for any closing thoughts.
Well, first off, I want to thank our ASL interpreter. Elena and I are both fast talkers, and you've been working double time tonight. So good job, and thank you for being with us tonight as well. I'm surrounded by great team members. As you can see, Melissa and Elena are fantastic executives at CPS Energy, and we've got a great team that is trying our best to serve our community as best we can. And we recognize we're a publicly owned utility, and it's why we work so hard to offer every mechanism possible to allow you to give us your feedback. And tonight's just one example of one type of medium that we use to do that, but we'll be in the community. And, people come to our board meetings and folks send us emails, and people stop me in the grocery store to give me feedback. And we'll take every bit of it that the community has to offer to ensure that we're doing the right thing. But I just thank those of you who've stuck with us tonight for joining us. We're here to serve you again as best we can. We love our customers. We love San Antonio and the Bexar County region that we serve, and we're trying to do the right thing and plan for the future. We don't build infrastructure overnight. It takes us years, sometimes a decade, to build transmission and power plants and big infrastructure that it's going to take to keep the energy flowing in San Antonio. But again, with your input, we're going to make good decisions, and we're going to be transparent and accountable, and we're going to try to always do the right thing. So thank you for being with us. We continue to ask for your feedback and support, and together, we'll continue to try to do the best job we can for our community.
Thank you, Rudy, and thank you, Elena. If you missed any part of this program, we did record this and we'll be sharing it on our website early next week. We thank you for joining us, and good night, everybody, and stay safe.